The islands of Hawaii, so tranquil, so serene. But at Pro Bowl time, so many questions. The NFC boasts some of the greatest receivers in the game, but only 4 of them are leaving the mainland.
There's going to be 2 receivers who don't make it who are going to have fabulous years.
At quarterback in the AFC, there are the record setters, the young gunners, and even cartoon characters. But not all of them will be able to draw up a Pro Bowl bid.
I'm not considered one of your better quarterbacks in the NFL.
You may be now, Jim. There'll be some names you know, and perhaps some that you don't know. But no doubt, these players were the hits of the season. We'll punch out the list of all the NFL's best. Next. Once again, everybody, or shall we say aloha. I'm Chris Berman, along with Tom Jackson and Joe Thiesmann, fellas who have represented their respective conferences before in the Pro Bowl. Always an exciting time for us here at ESPN as we get to announce the Pro Bowl team. Kind of like being Santa, where we give out the gifts for the football, maybe Miss America pageant, and these guys look good in bathing suits. And I think, Joe, going back to the Santa theme, the players have made their list, the coaches have made their list, the fans have made their list. We've checked it twice. Right. It's an exciting time.
It really is, Chris. And I think what people are going to find out is that some of the guys who have really had great seasons this year may not have had a chance to make it to the Pro Bowl, where others who have proven that they've been very good in the past have made it on past performances, Tommy. It's an interesting list.
Well, the Pro Bowl usually reflects the winners and the losers from each conference, and I think it clearly defines the winners in the NFC, and I think we can expect to see a number of 49ers and Cowboys on that squad. In the AFC, I think it's a lot less focused, and it'll be very interesting, Chris, to see who puts the big numbers on the AFC
squad.
Because
the AFC is jumbled, and we'll add it up for you. You'll be surprised at the very end. Well, as they used to say in the Tonight Show, I have in my hand the final envelope. Shall we open up some and get going? Yes, let's start. Tell you where we'll start. We'll start defensive backfield for the NFC. Why don't we just check them out first? Aeneas Williams. He's got the formal name, Joe, for the Cards. He's a starter. His second Pro Bowl.
Excellent cover skills. Very strong around the line of scrimmage. Peaks back in the backfield. Last year he had 9 interceptions. This year he hasn't benefited from a healthy team, but still a Pro Bowl performance.
Here's one of those nice stories, a name you wouldn't expect. Eric Davis, little guy for the Niners, played awfully big this year at corner. He starts, Tom.
Chris, another guy with improved coverage skills, and like all the San Francisco DBs, the speed to get deep and then make the big play.
And a guy who has been there before as an Eagle, now go as a Saint, Eric Allen, his first year representing New Orleans. The strong safety, the starter from the Cowboys with 123 tackles, Tommy, Darren Woodson, tough and fast.
Yeah, a guy who plays the run very, very tough, but also has a nose for the football. And again, we always talk the speed. Look at him get up the field, blowing by people toward the end zone.
Merton Hanks, well, he went last year, and he is back, Joe. He had 5 interceptions. He's a starter.
Yeah, but you know, Chris, what really makes him exceptional is his ability to support the run around the line of scrimmage. He absolutely loves to get his nose up there.
And if Merton's going, Timmy McDonald. They come in pairs now. Tim McDonald's back to Hawaii. E-I-E-I-O. He's made it his card, and now he's made it again as a San Francisco 49er, his 6th Pro Bowl. So, let's see. Last year, the 49ers had Deion Sanders at a quarterback, and then they had Eric Davis, and they had Merton Hanks, and they had Timmy McDonald. Deion doesn't go, but the other 3 Niners are all there, Tom.
Well, the 49er defensive backfield did exactly what they said they were going to do. They became a better team without Deion, not for the lack of him, but because they have to do different things. The reason Deion is not at the Pro Bowl, missed 7 games this year as opposed to 4 last year with the 49ers, and then certain offensive coordinators took him scheme-wise out of the defense.
Well, you know what else, too, Tommy, is Larry Brown, who was asked to move from the left corner to the right corner for the Cowboys, didn't make the Pro Bowl. 5 interceptions, 2 for touchdowns. He keeps being ignored, but not by the players that they play against. This guy is a Pro Bowler, just hasn't had the chance to go yet.
Well, Deion, the team's been 4-3 with him there, and before he got there, they had a better right. Not to put it on him, but so maybe some of the voters, the players who vote, the fans who vote, the coaches vote, maybe looked at that the way the Cowboy D is going. Well, let's keep going to the linebackers. Now here, again, Remember, for years, these were the names that you knew, like Lawrence Taylor, etc. Lee Woodall, Tommy, from the Niners, Westchester State, a Division II product, starting.
Yeah, and here compliments of Gary Plummer. You see him put this ball up on the 4-yard line. 96 yards later, he's in the end zone. And again, look at the speed of these guys as they get to the end zone.
And Tommy, Ken Harvey, second straight year from a team with a poor record, Washington. Do you know what kind of year he's had?
Well, I think anytime a guy plays with a team that doesn't have a good record, you know that he's put forth a lot of effort to make it on this Pro Bowl squad.
Backing him up, another new name and a first-time Pro Bowler, William Thomas from the Eagles. Jesse Tuggle, all he does is make tackles. He makes 158 of them through 14 weeks for the Falcons, so he goes for his third Pro Bowl. And Ken Norton Jr., his second Pro Bowl. You thought he'd be in more, but I tell you what, the Niners now have linebackers, one who's the son of a heavyweight boxer, Ken Norton Jr., and one who looks like Evander Holyfield, Lee Woodall. These guys are tough. Joining us now from 49ers headquarters is Ken Norton Jr. And Ken, congratulations.
Thank you.
Hardly old hat is this, and it's the defense that's led the Niners charge back, isn't it?
I'll tell you something we really took a lot of pride in is our defense this year, and we've been ranked high. We've been really flying around, and the fact that we got a few guys there representing us, it makes us feel real good.
Ken, this is Tom Jackson.
Tom, all right.
How you doing? You appear to be so much more comfortable in that defense than you did even last year. How much more comfortable are you?
I tell you, it's like night and day. I just love the kind of scheme that we have. I'm able to fly around, make plays, and kind of get the guys in front of me, put them on stunts and things like that. It just kind of feel at home with what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you about your old team. I know they're your old teammates, but are you surprised by the demise of the Cowboys?
I'm not really quite sure to say their demise. I think that one situation, they lost a game. They've only lost 4 games. We've also lost 4 games. I think that they might be blown out of proportion. I think it's going to be a good situation to see how they react from this.
Kenny, you know that everybody, your peers, had a big part in the voting here. So how much, and I'll ask this to, to all the players, how much does it mean that your peers vote you to this ball game?
It means an awful lot. Anytime that your peers can vote you in there, because we sit back, we watch a lot of film Monday through Friday during the meet times of the day, and we see everything that goes on. And the fact that some of my peers saw that I was doing something that's pretty special, that gives you a good feeling inside.
The 49ers have never, Kenny, been known through the years. They've had some very good defense when you win Super Bowls. Obviously, that's true, but a dictating defense. Is this a dictating defense that you guys have played there this year?
I like to think that we are. Sometimes when you think about the West Coast, you think about offense, and defense is kind of like a second thought. They think they can't play defense out on the West Coast, and we're trying to get people to think that, hey, there's a defensive way to play a Western side way to play football, too. And I think the fact that we're playing real hard, hopefully, they understand that we can play a defense on this side of the world out here.
Well, I think that the rest of the NFC is learning that now you guys have gotten that #1, you control your destiny again for home field, and I know you didn't think that was coming, did you, about a month ago?
I'll tell you, not a month ago, we were in a situation we're 5-4, and that team out there in Texas was 8-1. It's kind of funny how it kind of turned around now. We're in a driver's seat, but that doesn't mean anything if we don't continue winning ball games. We have 2 more big games left, and you see what type of things that Warren Moon and Cris Carter are doing. So we have a lot of work cut out for us on Monday night, so nothing can change on our point of view.
Well, I know you're not going to let that out of your grasp there, and congratulations on making the Pro Bowl. It's quite an honor.
Thanks a lot.
We're only underway here on the Pro Bowl Selection Show, right around the corner. As we told you at the beginning, some names you may not know, and some other names that there's no doubt you certainly know. We'll be back.
The 1995 Pro Bowl Selection Show is being brought to you by Kellogg's, with good taste, nutrition, and value. The best to you each morning from Kellogg's.
Welcome back to the Pro Bowl Selection Show. Let's see, we've had the defensive backfield from the NFC. We've had the linebackers. Yeah, let's rush the passer. So here we go with the defensive line, and we'll start at the tackle. John Randall, so fast, Joe, from the Vikings, his 3rd Pro Bowl. He starts a tackle.
Well, Boomer, he's the same way in practice. I mean, what you see in John Randall in a game like this is the exact same way he practices. He chases people from sideline to sideline.
And his first Pro Bowl, Eric Swan from the Arizona Cardinals. And, Joe, he's not so much fast, he's tough.
Oh, he is tough. I mean, he is the next Reggie White. If you're looking for somebody to replace this Reggie White at some point in time, Eric Swan is the man.
Dana Stubblefield. You got to figure that these Niner defensive tackles are going to be there for the rest of the decade. He makes it as a backup at the tackle for the NFC Pro Bowl squad. And the Minister of Defense, Reggie White, he wants to gimp out in the playoffs. Forget that season-ending injury. He's still there, his 10th Pro Bowl, one of just a handful who's played in that many games. And even at 20%, he's better than just about everybody else at 100%. So Reggie goes, and Charles Haley, he's hoping to come back for the playoffs, too, despite the fact he'll start at end. William the Fuller Rush, man, with his 11 sacks, he'll be the backup for the Philadelphia Eagles. You look at that list, and certainly everybody deserves to go, but there's always a name or two that you say, oh, couldn't he just go?
Yeah, and I think this time it's Andy Harmon, William Fuller's running mate with the Philadelphia Eagles. 11.5 sacks, has really been an important part of the defense for the Philadelphia Eagles and has put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, Tommy.
Yeah, another guy absent from that list, the Leon Lett. And certainly to be on the Pro Bowl team, you have to be on the field so your peers get a chance to see you play. Leon Lett missed 1 month, 4 games for a violation of the league's substance abuse law, and now he's missed the Pro Bowl as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, you want to add this up now, and I know the Niners, you know, are an offensive team. We've just seen the NFC defense. 6 San Francisco 49ers on defense, and that's going to be more than their offense, and that is unusual, and that's keyed their whole rise as we talk with Kenny Norton about it. When we return, well, we've seen the NFC defense. What about the AFC offense? Tough question at quarterback. Some of the big names go, like John Elway. Some of the young names, like his running back. Do they go? We shall see. As the AFC offense right around the bend. Pro Bowl selection show, we've given you the NFC defense, so now let's go to the other side of the ball and check out the AFC offense. I'm going to start with the offensive line. It's what's up front that counts, and this man from the Patriots, Bruce Armstrong, becoming a perennial, Joe, his 4th Pro Bowl starting at tackle.
Number 78 continues to develop in his pass blocking for Drew Bledsoe and has really come on as a run blocker for Curtis Martin in that Patriot offense.
It's hard to be more of a perennial than Richmond Webb. 6 years in the league, 6 Pro Bowls, a tackle for the Miami Dolphins. He starts, and they'll be backed up. His 6th Pro Bowl, Gary Zimmerman, the one-time Viking, now making it almost every year, it seems, with the Bronx. One of the guards, Steve Wisniewski, his 6th Pro Bowl, Tom Tough inside.
Yeah, he helped to anchor down that Raider line early on, a line that showed a lot of promise. They did a great job of run blocking, and this is a unit that's been decimated by injury as this season has gone on.
Well, starting at the guard, a name you certainly know, Bruce Matthews has been a perennial, his 8th Pro Bowl from the Oilers. And Keith Sims. It's Webb and Sims. They go almost as tandems from Miami pass blocking for Dan Marino. When you start at center, Joe, Dermontti Dawson is becoming like Mick Tingelhoff and Jim Otto. He's there every year now from the Steelers.
Well, Boomer, you know, another name you can mention right there is Mike Webster,
yes,
the great center of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It all starts up the middle, and he certainly is a guy who can both pass block as well as run block.
Mark Stepnoski moved over from the Cowboys to the Oilers. He makes his 4th Pro Bowl appearance. So there is the offensive line. So who will they be blocking for? Well, you don't quite have the names at running back in the AFC as you do in the NFC. So who's going to make it? This actually will be interesting. Well, 2 years in the league, Marshall Faulk. And last year in the Pro Bowl, he set all sorts of records as the AFC ran roughshod. Over 1,000 yards running the ball and close to 500 catching the ball. 2 years in the league, 2 years a Pro Bowler from the Colts. Joe, Chris Warren is just a load for the Seahawks, over 1,200 yards.
He's a load that carries the football team. When you've got an offense that doesn't throw the ball very well, everybody knows Chris Warren's going to get it. Still averages 4.4 a carry and 12 touchdowns.
Noah's 30 yards more than even Warren. Curtis, my favorite, Martin, Tom, and he's been a favorite in New England.
Yeah, and you look there, you see the 324 attempts. He was a workhorse for Coach Bill Parcells. There you see him, very slippery back, slicing and dicing through the hole, always making the first guy miss.
Fullback has often been Keith Byers, but Jack B. Kimball. Jack B. Quick. He's a great receiver. Kimball Anders with 52 catches and his first Pro Bowl, and congratulations to him because, you know, with the Kansas City Chiefs, the best record in the AFC, he's the guy that leads them in receiving, which is pretty impressive. tough race, though, at running back, Tommy, especially among rookies, and they may have this battle for years to come.
Well, as we watched the season go on, we knew that Curtis Martin or Terrell Davis was going to make it to the Pro Bowl, and probably the other guy was going to be left off. It's a shame that the guy left off had to be Terrell Davis, but a tremendous year for Curtis Martin. I mentioned the 324 carries, only 5 less than Emmitt Smith. So Bill Parcells makes a running back earn his money.
How about the interesting race that's starting to come, I think, at the center position? Tim Grunard, Kansas City Chiefs, doesn't make it. The Chiefs only are 11-3. And he is the guy that anchors that offensive line. So there's a lot of guys that have the ability. Now it's going to be a question of whether you play really well close to the selection time or if you dog it up until then. Those are the questions that come up.
Well, I tell you who's anchored an offensive line this year, and a line that's been in flux is Kent Hull for the Bills. Again, now he didn't make it, but you asked Jim Kelly, and immediately, and Courtney Hall for San Diego. So you're right. That center position is loaded. And it's talking to Marty Schottenheimer on Monday night at the game at Joe Robbie Stadium. First guy he said, except for your big names, who should go, Marty? Boom. Kimball Anders. Well, Kimball Anders does go. Congratulations. We've got plenty more coming on the Pro Bowl selection show. Now, who's going to throw it? Who's going to catch it? This fella has been unbelievable, Jeff Blake, but does he get in as a tight race at quarterback? And there's the fella he throws the ball to, Carl Slim Pickens. Does he get in? Does the tandem from Cincinnati go together? Does one of them go? The AFC. Throw 'em and catch 'em's coming up. Tonight on ESPN Live College Football at 9 Eastern Time, 6 out west. It's the Las Vegas Bowl with the Rockets of Toledo against the Wolfpack of Nevada, preceded at 8:30 Eastern Time at the end of this show by the College Football Kickoff Show. The college bowl season begins here on ESPN just as we get you set for the last of the bowl games, the Pro Bowl, being played on that first Sunday in February, right after the Super Bowl, the week after the Super Bowl, of course, at Aloha Stadium in Hawaii. What about the guys that catch the ball for the AFC? Let's start with the tight ends and Ben, amazing Technicolor Dream Coates. He starts at tight end, Tommy, his second year into the Pro Bowl for the Pats.
Yeah, and Ben Coates' numbers were down a little bit from last year when you consider the problems of that offense and Drew Bledsoe in particular. An outstanding year for Ben Coates. Maybe another guy who should have been mentioned, Tony McGee of Cincinnati, but he had some drops. Good prospect for the future.
Shannon Sharpe backs him up the 4th year in the Pro Bowl for him from Denver, Joe.
A little bit of a surprise for Shannon Sharpe. When the offense was changed and Mike Shanahan went there, Shannon Sharpe didn't expect to get the ball as much. But he certainly has been productive when he has got his hands on it and been John Elway's go-to guy again.
All right, those are the tight ends. Let's roll right along to the wide receivers. And I tell you what, there's a couple of different type of receivers here. Let's start with Tim Brown, who, of course, has been a return man to Pro Bowler. His 5th year as a Pro Bowler, Tommy and Joe, from the Raiders. Timmy Brown, steady.
Well, Boomer, the thing about it is he has had to catch passes from 3 different quarterbacks this year. That in itself, in my mind, makes him all-pro. Just a real go-to guy for the Raiders.
Carl Pickens, Tom, from the Bengals, has 16 TDs this year. 23 games he's hooked up with Jeff Blake. He's caught 25 touchdowns.
To my way of thinking, the most athletic of the group, the ability to get deep. He high jumps 7'2", and he has a knack for making the clutch catch.
Those are the 2 starters at wide receiver in the AFC. Anthony Miller, the burner from the Denver Broncos with 13 touchdowns. He'll back him up, as will Yancey Thigpen. And he's come out of nowhere, Joe, for a season of over 1,100 yards catching the ball.
Well, you know, Boomer, he's now a part of Earhart in Pittsburgh. And really, his ability to catch the ball has given Neil O'Donnell tremendous opportunities to make plays.
Well, wait, we never thought we would say Earhart. But you know, Ron and Bill Cowher, those guys, they're having a great old time doing that. You know, Tom, you look at that list of receivers, and like we said, different styles there for that bunch.
Yeah, when you look at that quartet, they all have the athleticism to make the catches. The most interesting stat I found during the course of looking at this Pro Bowl team, Anthony Miller has 36 less catches than Carl Pickens, but only 71 yards. So you're talking about a guy who proved he could get deep for Elway. We've now seen Terrell Davis. How are the Broncos only 7-7?
Well, we were asking you that.
I don't know.
We're going to put you on the spot. Well, now let's go to quarterback, where really, now this is tight. Hey, Jeff Blake made it. His first Pro Bowl, and congratulations to Joe. This is a rare sight here. It's one of the few throws that actually did not go out of frame.
That's right. He throws the prettiest deep ball in football, but I think credit also has to go to Bruce Coslett. He had him with the Jets. He's just developed him. He's really come on tremendously.
Jeff with 3,310. Look at Jim Harbaugh. kind of maligned at Chicago toward the end, and in Indianapolis, here he is, Joe, and he has him in the playoff hunt.
He has, and also the thing he's doing this year, Chris, is he said he's relaxed, enjoying the game. Again, he benefits from a coordinator change. He got Lindy and Fonnie in there to help him out.
Now, who's this guy, Joe?
Some guy who's just got record after record after record. Dan Marino right now is synonymous with the Miami Dolphins. He has taken this football team on his shoulders and said, listen, I'm not only going to set records, but I'm going to take you as far as I can. Sooner or later, I'm going to need some help.
Well, he's the starter for the AFC. Joining us now from Dolphins camp is Dan Marino, 9th Pro Bowl, all the records. Congratulations on, we could have an hour's worth of congratulations for you, really, Danny. But does this ever get old, hat being selected to the Pro Bowl?
Well, thank you, first of all, Chris, but it doesn't. You know, anytime you get picked, it's exciting because you're picked by your peers and coaches and, you know, and I guess now fans also, and it's an exciting thing. You get recognized by, you know, people that know the game and people that are involved on it on a daily basis. So it really means something, and, you know, I've enjoyed the first one and I've enjoyed this one.
Dan, is it a little bit of a relief now finally to have the records behind you? Because it seemed like each week it was another record-setting performance for Dan Marino, but in each of them it was almost like, oh, geez, it's going to be a loss. You don't have to worry about records anymore. You own them all. You can just concentrate on winning football games, right?
Well, I think I was trying to concentrate on winning football games regardless of the fact that, you know, the records were being set in some of those games. You know, it's nice. It's nice to know that you know, it came, it's gone. I've been able to accomplish some, you know, some really nice things throughout my career, and I've enjoyed the moment. I enjoyed the games I played in when it happened. You'd like to do it and win the football games, but obviously that didn't happen a couple times, and it's over with now. And yeah, in some ways it is kind of a relief. You can concentrate on more and things at hand. And I think I'm doing that. I think I was doing that at the time, but now it's over with. It's, you know, let's put it behind us and keep going.
I guess the longer, Dan, you stay around, the more you shake your head at this game because, you know, everybody was calling for everyone's head 2 weeks ago. Now the Dolphins have won a couple of games. You can control your own destiny as far as making the playoffs go. They called off the dogs, and I mean, is it just a night and day in the locker room as you prepare for Buffalo in that huge game this weekend?
Well, surprisingly, I think that you know, the team hasn't changed as much as maybe people may think. You know, when you're inside in the locker room, the press and media sometimes make more out of things than really are there, or they create things sometimes. I think our team has always gotten along very well this year. We've had some problems. You know, we've had some injuries. Myself, I missed 2 games. We should be in a lot better position than we are, but we have to try to be positive with where we're at. We have 2 more games left. They're both road games. It's going to be tough for us to win both of those games, but I think everybody in the locker room and the team, the players, you know, within the team and the coaches and everybody that's involved believe that we can do that, and that's all really that matters.
Well, Danny, congratulations again on another Pro Bowl selection, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, guys.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
No matter what the game, it's always a kick to watch Dan Marino play football. What a perfect segue into our next segment. Let's go special teams. Who will make it? Who makes it from any distance on the football field? Kickers, punters, returners, cover men? We're coming back. Pro Bowl selection show. Let's motor right along to the special teams. And we'll start with the AFC, where there's really a 3-way race for kicker. Norm Johnson has the most points in as far as all the kickers in football, but Jason Elam beat him and Steve Christie, so he goes for the Broncos. And what a find by Bobby Beathard. Australian rules football to punter in the Pro Bowl. Darren Bennett, Mike from the Chargers. Glenn Milburn, all he did last week, 404 yards total in receiving and rushing and returning, but Milburn has done it repeatedly as a return man, and so the young man from Stanford is the return man from the AFC. And has there ever been, if you think about special teams, there have been some great hard-nosed players, has there ever been more packed into a smaller body than Steve Tasker, the 7th time he's been a Pro Bowler for the Buffalo Bills. All right, so that's the AFC Pro Bowl squad. Now let's move on to the NFC Pro Bowl squad. And this name certainly is not new. It's just the team is new. For the 7th time, it's Morton Anderson, but Tommy, he goes as the kicker, the NFC, but from the Falcons.
Yeah, completely diminishing skills. Doesn't know how to get it through the uprights anymore. No. In all seriousness, Morton Anderson, as good as he's ever been and as accurate as I've ever seen him.
Tough battle for punter. Sean Landeta actually leads in overall the yards, but Jeff Fiegels goes from the Cards. Brian Mitchell, Joe, on pace. Well, similar 2,000-yard paces last year.
What a weapon he's been for the Redskins, Cris. He's given that offense an opportunity to start quite often up around midfield. This is just one of his great returns against the Cowboys.
And Albert Shelley, as Tasker has gone as the special team guy from the AFC, 4 now for Albert Shelley of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, you look at the return. Let's go back to Glenn Milburn. Now, just think of the AFC West. These guys must have nightmares defending Andre Coleman from the Chargers, who's had 3 returns for touchdowns. You have Joey Galloway from Seattle. You have Tamarick Vanover, who has had some great plays for the Chiefs, but Milburn gets it.
And you know why? I really believe this. It depends not necessarily how good you are, but it's when you have that kind of game. Remember, the Pro Bowl balloting was this week. So the players are going to sit around in the room and say, who was that guy from Denver who had 404 combined yards? Somebody says, Glenn Milburn. He says, that's a guy we like because there are so many others to pick from. So, Glenn, congratulations to you. Tommy, it's sometimes when you do, it's important of what you've done.
Yeah, a guy that they did not have to ask that question of was Morton Anderson of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I hate to harp on this, but the New Orleans Saints, this year he was 8 for 8, 3 from 50 or more yards.
Against the Saints.
You think they should have kept him in New Orleans?
Yeah, I think it's something that they're thinking about. And I tell you what, Steve Tasker, you know, he caught 2 touchdowns last week because Reed has been out. They triple team him on the special teams. They've had young guys with Buffalo that haven't really, had learned. But Tasker has delivered again and again and again, and he is back. And his Northwestern team's going to the Rose Bowl, so he's really had a good year. He's going to the Pro Bowl. When we return, plenty more to tell you about, including the AFC defense. And, well, that ought to give you a hint. If 16 sacks wasn't enough of a hint. We'll be back. Very special edition of Outside the Lines. Bob Lee and company hosted Friday from Cleveland at 9 Eastern Time. A brownout in Cleveland. I don't want to call it tragic, but if ever there's a sports story of a team moving like this, this is tragic. When you think of football in Cleveland, can it happen in your city? What's going on there? We'll have it all for you on Outside the Lines. That's this Friday night. Well, what you have to learn to play is defense, I guess, in that situation, and there's some in the AFC that certainly know how to do that very well. Let's unveil the defensive squad for you, starting with the defensive backs. And at the AFC quarterback, Dale Carter is the starter from the Chiefs. It's his 2nd Pro Bowl. The Chiefs are the best record. And Tommy, Terry McDaniel, his 4th Pro Bowl from the Raiders.
Yeah, right in the mold of a lot of the great DBs of the Raiders of the past. Great man-to-man cover guy. Great stride on the football, the ability to make the big play.
And Darrell Lewis, I'll tell you, Houston's got a heck of a defensive backfield. Darrell Lewis with 6 interceptions, and he's one, and he's got the speed, he's the tight coverage. You're going to hear about a lot of these guys. He's less heralded than Chris Dishman, but it's Lewis that goes and not Dishman. Steve Atwater, his 6th Pro Bowl, Joe, starts from the Broncos back at free safety.
Yeah, and you know something? He's had an opportunity to play around the ball a lot more. Here you see him come up and tackle Thurman Thomas. That's where Steve Atwater has really made his mark, is around the line of scrimmage.
He's playing corner now, but he goes to the Pro Bowl, returns as the strong safety, Carnell Lake of the Steelers. And again, the Oilers. See names you don't know. His 1st Pro Bowl, Blaine Bishop. He goes as the AFC, backing up at the safety spot. And guys, in talking with Bill Cowher, the Pittsburgh Steelers, stung early by many things. One, the injury to Rod Woodson. Carnell Lake, when the team was, 3-4, took upon himself, I'm not that good a corner coach, but let me play corner and give up a trip to the Pro Bowl at safety. And you know what? Since he's made that move, they're 7-0. And everybody recognizes he's good because he's going anyway as the strong safety. So that's a nice story both ways. What are you looking at here? What will these DBs be looking at in the Pro Bowl?
When you get into the game, Chris, one of the things that the defensive backs of the AFC are going to be faced with, in all likelihood, is the height of the wide receivers of the NFC. It'll be really interesting to see if there are a lot of jump balls in this game. We've already seen that Jeff Blake is going to go. We know he's going to throw the ball up in the air. Who will throw it up in the air for the NFC? I think it's going to be interesting just to see how they match up in this game.
Well, they've got a while to think about that and pick out the bathing suits as well to bring to Honolulu. Let's go to the defensive line now for the AFC, and now here you go. Now, the front seven, I think you're going to recognize Chester McLaughlin. He's just great. He starts, Tommy's second Pro Bowl from the Raiders.
Yeah, tremendous power rusher in the middle of the football field. I think he can collapse the middle of most offenses in this league. A big plus for the Raiders when it comes to crunch time defensively.
The biggest improvement from the Chiefs this year, the run defense. Dan Saliamua, a big reason, Joe, he's starting in the Pro Bowl.
Well, this year he gets to play on the ball. Last year he played a yard off, went sideline to sideline. Now he's in the backfield all the time.
A guy who has been to the Pro Bowl many times is Cortez Kennedy. So Tez is back in his 5th Pro Bowl from the Seahawks. Well, speaking of Pro Bowls many times, you just Bill Smith out for defensive end. I think you're okay. You start with Bruce, his 8th Pro Bowl in 11 seasons. You saw the 3 sacks he had against San Francisco, 10.5 sacks on the season. And Bruce Smith, the most feared. He and Reggie White, the most feared in the game. Neil Smith has started with 10 sacks. Neil has had a big season for the Chiefs. And Leslie O'Neal with 11.5 sacks from the defending AFC champion Lightning Bolt. So that your defensive line for the AFC. Now let's move on to linebackers. You know those names, and you'll know these names as well. And we left with a Lightning Bolt. We'll start with a Lightning Bolt. Tom, Junior Seau, 5th Pro Bowl from the Chargers.
Yeah, tremendous leader, tremendous athlete, has the ability to make the big play. Maybe nobody more instinctively quick than he is on the football field.
Well, he is intense and excited, and so is this man on the inside, Tommy Brian Cox from the Dolphins.
Yeah, and people talk about the intensity and sometimes going overboard, but nobody argues with the fact that Brian Cox is a tremendous football player and makes most of the big plays that Miami's defense has made this year.
On the outside, Joe, Greg Lloyd, 5th Pro Bowl from the Steelers.
You know, he was like a Jack Lambert type of linebacker, except he plays outside. But look at him run down people. That's his relentless nature and has turned into a pretty darn good pass cover as well.
Derek Thomas, no stranger to Hawaii, his 7th Pro Bowl. And Bryce Popp with 16 sacks, Tommy. What an addition to the Bills.
Yeah, I love Bryce Popp because he does everything. He rushes the passer, he plays the run, he gets back in coverage. What a novel idea, a guy who can play every down.
He'll be playing all the way to Hawaii. Joining us now from Orchard Park, New York, where, of course, he's also helped shovel the snow. He's done everything else all this season, is Bryce Popp. Congratulations to you, Bryce. 16 sacks with a couple of games to go. I mean, did you think, really, in your wildest dreams, you could have a 20-sack season this season?
Never in my wildest dreams. I just hoped to, break in double digits, but 16 is just, have to thank God for that. It's just amazing.
Bryce, this is Tom Jackson. You know, so many teams went out and hit that free agency market. They didn't get the cohesiveness that the Bills got. How did you guys come together so quickly?
Well, I think a lot of it was, we had a new defensive coordinator, a new system, and everybody was starting on the same page, and everybody's willing to work with each other, and, I think that helped a lot.
What have you picked up from the veterans, both sides of the ball, not only a Bruce Smith, for example, but the veterans on the offensive side of the ball, like Jim Kelly? You come into a team that's done a lot of winning. How much of that is a part of your being in the Pro Bowl, Bryce?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with it because, if your team doesn't win, you don't get the individual awards. And, we stumbled a few games in the middle of the season, and, they didn't panic. It was just like, okay, we've stumbled a little bit. Let's get back on the winning track. And they showed great leadership, and that's always a big key to, making a drive to the Super Bowl.
Bryce, people talk about aggressiveness. How aggressive is Wade Phillips' system, and as far as how it suits the players that he has on this team?
Well, he told us at the beginning of the year, we'll be as aggressive as you want to be or as you allow us to be, because as long as we're all on the same page, we can, blitz or dog as much as we want to. And, he's just left it up to us to take care of the coverage and, be able to dog and be able to cover it, in the backfield.
Well, they spell Pro Bowl up in Buffalo, Bryce. They either change the U or the Y. Bruce, Bryce, it sounds pretty good. I know Hawaii sounds great. You get a lot of games before you think about the beaches, although it sounds pretty good right now in Buffalo. Congratulations. What a first year for you.
All right. Well, thank you.
What a first year, and still counting, really. But, you look at this front seven, guys, and the Bruce and Neil Smith and Leslie O'Neal and Seau and Cox and Lloyd and Derek Thomas. Cornelius Bennett didn't even make the Pro Bowl. These are the known names. You compare them with the NFC we were looking at before. This is the heart and soul of the AFC right here, Tom.
Well, Chris, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a better group than this front seven in either conference. And I'd like to add another name to that list, something on behalf of one of my old teammates, Simon Fletcher, a guy who has 100 career sacks and yet has never been to a Pro Bowl. I'd venture to say that's never happened.
We even nicknamed him Ryman.
And it didn't help.
Fletcher. We got to talk to the folks about that. Well, when we return, the NFC, they have some offensive players. So as good as this front seven is, we'll tell you who will run it, who will throw it, who will catch it, and who will block it for the NFC, and talk with some of the Pro Bowlers in a moment. Back to the Pro Bowl selection show. Just getting interesting. Now we get to deliver the goods on offense for the NFC. And let's start up front. William Roaf. Joe, second Pro Bowl starting at tackle from the Saints.
You know, great thing about him, Chris, he called us here at ESPN to see if he made it, but we weren't going to tell you, William. Yes, you did. What great arms, leverage, and strength he has, particularly against a smaller defensive end like Mike Mamula.
Well, William Roaf, especially William, he makes you call you by the formal name. You know he's tough. You don't mess around. Lomas Brown will start at tackle from the Detroit Lions, a sixth Pro Bowl. Mark Tunay gets to go home to Hawaii. He'll back up at tackle his second Pro Bowl. And speaking of the Cowboys, Nate Newton, his fourth Pro Bowl, and he's going back, and he's a heart and soul, Tom.
Yeah, amazing thing about Nate Newton, the athleticism. We always think about that large girth around the middle. This guy has the ability to get outside, throw every kind of block you can throw.
Randall McDaniel, starter, his seventh Pro Bowl from the Vikings, such a great athlete at that position. And a good draft pick a year ago. Larry Allen with the Fighting Cossacks of Sonoma State. He makes it at guard for Dallas. Kevin Glover going to his first Pro Bowl. Congratulations, Kevin, from the Lions. He'll start. Ray Donaldson, the veteran, having a big year till he was hurt. Made it as the alternate at center, so he's hurt. Another veteran goes. Bart Oates has made it as a Niner a couple times after making it as a Giant before that. So that is your offensive line for the NFC. Now, if you're an offensive lineman, you love to run block, and you're going to love to run block for these guys. Jeez, let me think of the first two backs. Yeah, that Smith fella. One touchdown away from the record of John Riggins at 24. Joe?
I mean, you know, you don't even want to talk about Emmitt. All you want to do is watch him work. He runs great. He blocks great. He never stops. He's relentless. He's a team leader. He's perfect.
Tom, that Sanders fella from Detroit, he makes it.
Yeah, Joe, I'll ditto all that on Barry Sanders. 7,000-yard season, 7 Pro Bowls. He obviously knows the formula. He has the sweetest feet in the National Football League.
Already 10,000 yards. And well, the third back, now this is actually those two guys there, and now here's Ricky Running Waters. The former Niner makes it as a Pro Bowler, Joe, from the Eagles.
Ricky says, I told you so. I told you I wanted the ball. I told you I needed the ball. I told you I was good. Now he's proven it. The mouth that backed it up.
Well, he's going to the Pro Bowl, and Larry Centers is 6 catches away from the most in the single season by a running back. He has 86 catches for the Cardinals. Roger Craig's record at 92. So Centers now goes to the Pro Bowl. Now, it's hard to imagine Barry Sanders as what, a decoy? But now you see Barry and all those guys he has with him. My goodness, Joe, what? I mean, he's enjoying life. Right?
He really is, Chris. And the thing is he's no longer the Detroit Lion offense. He is now a part of it. When you spread that offense out and force a defense to cover 3 wide receivers, especially like Detroit has, then you allow Barry to pick and choose where he wants to go. He's not going to get pounded much by the defensive backs. He's going to be on the field, and he's going to be extremely effective, Tom.
Yeah, and anytime you see the numbers put up by Sanders and Emmitt Smith, you know that they're getting a tremendous job from the offensive line, and I think that was reflected in this Pro Bowl team. You see 4 Cowboys, you see 2 Lions on that offensive line.
Yep, and Niner, you didn't see Jesse Sapula was done center, has done guard, and I know he wanted to go, but it's tough squeezing into this crowd, that's for sure. And you talk about tough squeezing into this crowd, wide receivers in the NFC, oh my goodness. I mean, you know the names, but the problem is there are more names than there are spots. 4 spots available in the NFC. Who will go at wide receiver? That's a tough call. And also, when we return on the Pro Bowl selection show, quarterback. Some of the biggest names hurt for a while. Some names who aren't that big had huge seasons. Who ends up going? We'll be back. Ball, a game dripping with playoff implications for both sides. The Raiders trying to snap that 4-game losing streak, and the Seahawks in the hunt at 7-7. That's at 8 Eastern, 5 in the Hotel California, and actually the Hotel Pacific Northwest. We'll be very interested in that game. Joe's here today. He's going tomorrow to do that ball game for us. Well, now let's go to those that catch the ball and throw it in the NFC, shall we? And let's start with the tight ends. And you get the 3 first-place teams, all with good tight ends. Who's going to go? Jay Novacek goes again with the Cowboys, Joe, his 4th Pro Bowl.
Michael Irvin makes the big plays. Emmitt Smith makes the big runs and gets the touchdowns. But Jay Novacek keeps this offense moving.
The first-place team in the Norris are the Packers. And Mark Chmura, he's short a couple of vowels, Joe and Tom, but he can do everything.
Yeah, and one thing he does is he rooms with Brett Favre. That works out perfectly. He's the total complete package. Good blocking tight end, excellent receiving tight end.
Well, so Brent Jones of the Niners is the short end of the stick there, but Novacek and Chewy, as they call him in Green Bay, go. He's all around. Well, wide receivers. Remember those names we had at running backs? Let's see. Oh, yeah, that Rice fella. One of the few that's made it to 10 Pro Bowls. Jerry Rice, close to another 100-catch season. Record-breaking. Makes some circus catches. And every year he says, I'm going to do something better. I think he's excelled at all of them. Herman Moore is the other starter at wide receiver, Joe, for Detroit. 108 catches over 1,500 yards.
Chris, you mentioned doing something better. That's exactly what Herman Moore has done in the last couple years. Just got better and better and better.
Those are the starters in the NFC. What do you mean? Michael Irvin's on the bench, Tom? Well, not for long. 101 catches in all those 100-yard games. Not like he stunk out the joint.
It says a lot for this quartet, and the common denominator is size. Look at the size, the ability to go up and get the ball over smaller DBs.
And Cris Carter, another 100-catch season, back-to-back, 103 catches for him, Joe. And my goodness, he does things other than score touchdowns.
Well, you know, the thing about him is it's very difficult for big guys to get down and catch the ball. Cris Carter can catch it absolutely anywhere.
Well, you know, Cris Carter was once a victim of the numbers back in the good old days when we used to do the Pro Bowl.
No.
Moving right along.
Yeah.
You know, it was Jerry Rice and Michael Irvin and Sterling Sharpe and Andre Rison in the NFC. And Cris Carter would be sorry. Well, now he goes, and guys like Isaac Bruce and Brett Berman and Metcalf, they don't go, Tom. Boy, what a numbers game there.
Well, this reminds me of the linebacker situation in the 70s when I was always that next guy or that next guy that was going to go. But how could I argue with Jack Ham, Ted Hendricks, Robert Brazile going? I think he had that same situation, and maybe they have to make some changes, huh, Joe?
Well, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea. You know, now that the National Football League has wanted to open up the offenses, which they have, we see a lot more guys with touchdown passes, a lot more guys with receptions. Why not do this? I know it's a novel idea, but instead of just taking 4 receivers, why not take 6? Because they're all worth going.
Let's widen the field, eh? we could do whatever we want over there.
Absolutely, we could change the rules.
Well, you know who wouldn't mind all that? All those receivers are the quarterbacks. And, well, this is an intriguing selection here because some of the biggest name quarterbacks were hurt for some of the year, like Steve Young, but he's come back now, and Steve is running with a vengeance. And Joe, he said last week you get the feeling that now he's starting to click again on all cylinders.
He really is. I mean, he was beat up early in the year, got hurt in the Atlanta game, but come back, and now he's in the groove.
Troy Aikman, he goes again from the Cowboys.
Speaking of guys who were hurt, he was healthy in the beginning of the year, and he's just been a warrior in the pocket. He doesn't move around a lot. He's a target for everybody and is taking the punishment.
But both of those guys will ride the pine to start the game because Brett Favre, 3,800 yards, 32 touchdowns, he's the starter.
He has made his case for MVP of the league. All he does is make plays for the Green Bay Packers. There's absolutely no question. He goes where the Packers go.
Joining us now from Green Bay is Brett Favre. And Brett, congratulations. I know you're sitting in Green Bay in December. Hawaii's got to sound awfully good to you.
Yeah, you know, I'm very excited, and this is, you know, once again a great opportunity to meet some great guys and have some fun with it.
Brett, I'm curious. Did you expect to go to the Pro Bowl?
You know, you hate to sit here and say that you expected to go, and you know, I felt like I put myself in a position to go. as I thought I did last year and didn't go. So I wasn't going to jump the gun this year and say, hey, you know, I probably should go and will go this year. So I just was going to wait and hear it from someone before I even wanted to believe it myself.
With the question marks about Reggie White being able to play, will he play, won't he play, do you feel like now that the burden is shifted a little bit on your offense to be able to carry this football team as far as it's able to go in the playoffs?
Well, I think so. Defense wins championships, but I think in this system we have here, Mike obviously being an offensive coach, we kind of rely on offense a little bit. So we have to put a lot of points on the board, and that's every week. So we have to help those guys out. Even if, you know, the old cliche that defense wins championship, we got to help those guys out, with or without Reggie.
Reggie White made an interesting call today. He wants to stick around. Is that kind of symbolic that maybe the Packers this year, you feel this is your year to make a move in the playoffs, that he blew off season-ending surgery? That kind of speak for the whole team, you think, Brett?
You know, I think so. You know, we had an obvious setback last week, but we do feel like we're a good football team and we can compete with those guys, meaning Dallas and San Francisco. We haven't beaten them yet, so it's hard to sit here and say that we can go in and beat them. I feel like we can. And who knows? Maybe this is the year. You got to figure sometime we're going to go to one of those guys and beat them.
Real quickly, your mind is a long way away from Honolulu, and you've been there before, but you throw to Jerry Rice, you throw to guys in your division like Cris Carter and Herman Moore and Michael Irvin. You kind of lick your chops at that, don't you, Brett?
You know, that would be awesome to have a team to go through a season with. I mean, that's a quarterback's dream, and it's fun to throw those guys and play with them and come home and everyone says, hey, you know Jerry Rice, or you know Michael Irvin and Herman Moore and Cris Carter and Sterling Sharpe, you know all those guys. I'm like, yeah, you know, that's pretty cool. So it is fun to go down and do that.
Well, they're going to be just as excited having you throw the ball to them as well. Congratulations on a great year.
Thank you.
So there you have it, the Pro Bowl squads. When we return, we'll wrap it up just like a nice Christmas package. Stay with us. Don't forget, Double Dip again this weekend for NFL Game Day, Saturday and Sunday. Start time 11:30 a.m. Eastern, including the 90-minute game day on Sunday. And then NFL Prime Time at 7 Eastern wraps up all the games, and we have fun on that show. The Cowboys have 10. The Niners have 9 Pro Bowlers to lead the parade. The Broncos lead the AFC with 6. The Chiefs, with the best record in football, have 5. 8 teams without a Pro Bowler this year, including 0 for the Big Apple, 0 for New York. And Carolina, boy, Sam Mills, Brett Maxey, they were close. And remember, in the Pro Bowl, after they figure out who the Pro Bowl coach is, depending on the playoffs, a need player is selected from each side, either a linebacker or a defensive end, so maybe Mills will go there. Final thoughts, Tommy?
Yeah, not many surprises in the NFC, but in the AFC, the Broncos with 6, Buffalo with 3. Hard to figure.
And a couple guys traded paychecks for Pro Bowls. For example, Andre Rison and Deion Sanders. Neither one of them go. But if I could pick a need player, I'd like to pick one in particular. It's my dad. It's his 75th birthday, and I want to wish you happy birthday, Pop.
Well, happy birthday from all of us. Thanks for watching the Pro Bowl Selection Show. And as they would say out in the islands, aloha and mahalo.